All right. Hey, everybody. Welcome to Forks Over Knives with Corey and Steven. My name's Corey and that's Steven. He is in charge of customer success. Steven, how you doing, man?
I'm doing great, Corey. How are you doing?
I'm doing great. You know, it's spring. It's beautiful outside at the time of this
Yes.
recording. And today we're going to be talking a little bit about how to save money. And it couldn't be more appropriate because there's a lot of stuff going on in the news right now. Potential recession coming up. No matter what side you're on, the bottom line is we all need to save a couple bucks now and then. So we want to
Yeah.
talk about how a plant-based diet might be able to save you some actual dollars from your wallet.
I think the big misconception is that eating healthy needs to be expensive or is expensive, Corey. And what we're going to present, what I love doing is really introducing all of these tips and types of foods that are not going to only take care of your health, which saves you money in the long run, but takes care of your wallet with each shopping list that you go to the store with.
You know, we have a blog post that this video is embedded in, but also we want to call attention to it. It's 1 week vegan meal plan, how to eat plant-based on a budget for $3 a meal. And if you
Yes.
were getting started doing this, Steven, what's the first thing that you would do to save money and try to make this vegan lifestyle, plant-based lifestyle on $3 a meal?
I think it's really first thing is identifying the stores that are by you, the stores and the markets that can help you get there first. And nowadays, there are so many more that don't have to be the big spends. We're talking about Trader Joe's, Smart and Final, Walmart, 99-cent stores. We're talking Aldi, Lidl, Target, Food for Less, and other grocery outlets that you can find around you. If we are focusing on whole plant foods, that is our primary first step. And you can find those at all of those stores, saving extra money from some of those other places that all of those things might cost a little bit more.
It's true. And guys, I want you to go into these stores with some sort of plan. Now, of course, the Forks Meal Planner can help you really plan things out. But even if you don't have the Forks Meal Planner, I want you to eliminate the idea of perfection and
Yeah.
focus on trying. And if you can try to focus on those foods that don't have the labels, those foods that you find in the produce section, let's reimagine what an actual meal can be. We are looking for foods that are just loaded with nutrients
Mm.
and still enable you to feel full. We're talking about fruits, veggies, nuts, seeds, beans, whole grains, the types of foods that the Forks Over Knives brand was made from. Of course, the, documentary back in 2011, the #1 Netflix documentary for years. We want you to just give it your best shot. And I think that's going to help you not only in the short term, but for the rest of your life.
And the fun thing is, it's easier than you expect, especially with all this information that we're going to share. With all those foods that you shared, Corey, I think that we can focus kind of like in a couple different areas. Number one, bulk buys, right? If we can get foods in bulk, that is going to help. And I'm talking about bulk beans, bulk legumes of all kinds. Choose your favorite bean: black beans, chickpeas, pinto beans, lentils, black-eyed peas. Bulk whole grains. We're talking brown rice, quinoa, millet, rolled oats. When you are getting these foods in bulk, the price point is going to be less for more, which means you can make more meals with them. So keep an eye out for what can I buy big bags of? What can I, make my own bags of in the bulk section? And I think especially the legumes of all kinds and the whole grains are going to be a great place to start. That can cover you for breakfasts, lunches, and dinners ahead for the full week.
As we talk about whole grains, I want to touch for a second on one of those items that you could buy at the grocery store in bulk, and that's rice.
Yeah.
Typically, when you walk into the store, there's two types of rice that you can buy in bulk. There's white and there is brown. Now, if you're consuming white rice, there are, areas in the world that have been consuming white rice for thousands of years. And the thing about that is it might not be just the white rice, but the foods that they're eating along with it, which could be those fruits and veggies. Now, you're not going to put fruits on top of rice. I don't know, unless it's a rice pudding, right? But when you have the choice, I feel like leaning more towards brown rice would be able to help you get that extra fiber and, yes, protein that is inside of brown rice. What do you think, Stephen?
I absolutely agree with that. Again, we want to make sure that your health is supported. And when we are talking about that fully intact whole grain as opposed to more of a refined grain, the choice is there. Now, ultimately, Corey, I think if we have to do one instead of the other, we are still heading in the right direction based on that choice versus some other unhealthy choices. But to know that brown rice is plentiful, again, in that section where you're going to find both of them, or your favorite bagged or boxed brown rices, they are plentiful. You're going to find a lot of other rice blends too. So the cool thing is, if even white or brown is not your variety, a wild rice, a black rice, there are choices. And I think that that's the most important thing. We never want to feel like we only have one choice. So to know that you have all of them available and for a great price point for saving money and focusing on your health, we have a lot of directions we can take.
Let's get pretty technical with the types of foods that we recommend for each meal of the day if you eat that way. I mean, typically most people think of meals as breakfast, lunch, and dinner. So let's
Yeah.
try to break it down that way. And maybe we can mention a couple snacks for folks as well to help keep you satiated and also just feeling super satisfied and a high level of energy throughout the day.
I think it would be really cool to even get an overview, sort of like a little peppering, that's a fun food pun, of all the different foods that we would get and what that can turn into. We already talked about some of these bulk foods. When we're talking about all of the produce that we'll go over, frozen or fresh can go either way. Big bags of potatoes, of course, we are going to be getting. But Corey, if I were to take a look at the full rainbow, knowing I can get through my fruits like apples, bananas, blueberries, if I'm going to go through all the veggies, we're talking broccoli, carrots, celery. We're going into the leafy greens, kales, spinach. We have onions. We have our other leafy greens, our parsleys, our cilantros, peppers, as I mentioned, potatoes, of course, sweet potatoes, lettuces, tomatoes. All of those foods that I just mentioned, if we were able to find those at the market or the grocery store or at a farmer's market or anywhere where we can find the price point that works for us, get a collection of all of those, put those together. That's going to go into a nice slate of meals ahead. We already talked about those bulk items, the dried beans, the brown rice, lentils, chickpeas, oats. Whole grain pasta in larger amounts can go a long way. Polenta, nuts and seeds are in there. We'll get maybe some frozen veggies, maybe some frozen corn, and our favorite unsweetened, unflavored plant milk. Now, just with those items that I mentioned, Corey, we could create an entire week's meal plan: breakfast, lunch, dinner, and some snacks in there.
It's
Should we take a look?
incredible. Let's look at it.
Okay. So, all those foods that we can get from any of those stores that we find the best price point at, we're talking about oatmeals of different kinds, overnight oats with apples, muesli with nuts and fruit. We're talking, let's take a look over here. We're talking about chickpea pasta salad with a walnut dressing, a hearty lentil ragu with penne, parsley lemon hummus. Look at all the colors there, Corey. I mean, we have just used a variety of foods. That's just one day. And the great thing is all those foods that we used are also going to be used for leftovers and in other meals as we head into our second day.
Incredible. And it looks like oatmeal is another rock star here. And the snack is always going to be fresh fruit. Is that right?
Yeah, we're going to have some sort of fresh fruit or a dip of some sort. I think we have a couple of others coming a little bit later. I think the main thing is to know that there's different varieties. You don't have to do the same thing. If you love oatmeal, you can do oatmeal with this fruit, oatmeal with that fruit, oatmeal with this spice or seasoning or another one. Try one plant milk, try another plant milk. Whether you're doing more of a kind of crunchy granola muesli type, or whether you're doing something that is more of a hot, you can make different variations with the same foods. It extends it longer, it saves you money, it gives you fulfillment through variety. Over here, we have leftovers. Corey, I think one of the biggest things to do to save money is to make a big batch. One night's dinner is the next night's lunch. And so we saw that with some of the pastas. We saw that with the casserole. We saw that with the salad. Over here, we see oatmeal going even further with our oatmeal date pancakes on a third day. We have another casserole left over. The food just extends and extends. And personally, what I think might be one of my favorites, a potato burrito bowl. I am all about potatoes. And so, however we can do potatoes, mashed, smashed, baked, roasted, put it in a burrito bowl, I'm all about it. How about you?
All I heard was beans, greens, potatoes, tomatoes. Right, that's the viral song that goes around
It
around
is. It is. Mine's just a
Thanksgiving.
lot more. It's just potatoes. Mine is the just
Potatoes,
potato
potatoes,
version.
potatoes, potatoes.
Potatoes, potatoes, potatoes. We
Yeah.
can take all of those foods. Now, we've already had some leftovers. We've expanded our palate a little bit. Going into day 4, we continue the leftovers now. We move our breakfast, our muesli into a leftover. We still have those potato burrito bowls, which we could probably do for multiple days. And by we, I say I, and I hope that extends to you too.
Of course.
Lentil burgers. How great is it to make your own veggie burger, for it to be filling and delicious? And sweet potato fries. We can do fries of all kinds. Again, those potatoes come in handy. We're going to keep blazing through because, again, all of those foods that I mentioned can keep on working their way into different variations. We have a savory breakfast, a polenta porridge with broccoli. We have a Tex-Mex pasta salad. Look at all of these colors here, a chickpea curry stew with kale. And oatmeal doesn't just have to be breakfast. Oatmeal can be a dessert. Oatmeal can be a snack, especially when we get some fruit in there. And I will always load up with bananas.
I think bananas are not only great for a snack on the go, but also for some frozen ice cream. If your bananas start going a little bit, old, you can just take them, peel them, freeze them, put them in the freezer, and then make some ice cream later in the blender.
And I think that's the mindset that going into saving money with a consolidated meal plan, that's where it really, really just soars. With bananas, we can eat bananas on their own. We can have a fresh fruit snack on the side. We can add them to our oatmeal or our cereal. We can make smoothies with them, or we can chop them up, put them in the freezer, and make some nice cream with them later on. And so that would be what like a full week looked like. And we even have more, of course, for the weekend. But Corey, with just those foods that I mentioned, for $3 a meal, that's $9 a day. So we are talking about a grocery list that comes out to somewhere around, let's say, like 60 some to $70 for a full week of varied meals. That's a winner as far as I'm concerned.
It really is. And folks, whether you buy organic or not, it's completely and totally up to you. I think that yes, of course, if you were to buy everything completely organic, it's going to be a little more expensive than that. But this is a personal choice and something that you need to set rules for you and your household. Is non-GMO important to you? Is organic important to you? Is local important to you?
Yeah.
These are all things that you need to think about and make your family's own plan. But we, Stephen and I, are kind of talking in a bit of a generality here when we look at fruits and veggies in the grocery store and of course at the farmers market. When you are buying in bulk, that is what brings the daily cost to the per meal cost far down for you, and that's what we're recommending. So just to make sure that you're on the same page as us.
And I think a final thing to address, especially when we talk about making all of these meals and wanting them to be delicious, we're talking about how to save money, especially with bulk, maybe frozen or fresh in certain cases, organic or conventional in certain cases. One of the areas that will be an initial higher price point, Corey, but will pay off in the long run is really stocking that pantry, especially with those spices, those herbs, those seasonings. So
Mm.
just even going lightning round through a basic list of going, if you can stock your spice and seasoning drawer with these will last you in the weeks and weeks ahead. How many different types of meals, flavor profiles, cuisine types could you make using these? And we have a little drum roll into a nice little list that I think will help everyone. And we're talking cayenne pepper, mild chili powder, crushed red pepper flakes, curry powder, dried oregano, freshly ground black pepper, garlic powder, ground cinnamon, cumin, dried Italian seasoning of any kind. We're talking condiments like ketchup and mustard, pure vanilla extract, especially for that sweetness and baking, sea salt, smoked paprika, taco seasoning of any kind, and a white wine vinegar or a cider vinegar. Just that list can cover all of those different meals that we talked about in our meal plan week and go a lot further for you in the weeks ahead, saving you money for your future shops.
And as a bonus round here, I want to let you guys know a lot of the things that he mentioned can also help season your tofu. So if you want to make a marinade out of almost any of those things that he mentioned, it'll go beautifully with anything that you're making and add that extra source of protein. So holy cow, Stephen, that was a very comprehensive list. And I am so happy that you brought that to this meeting. Thank you.
Absolutely. We are here to make sure that eating healthfully is easy, is convenient, is fun, is delicious, and just as I started, supports your health.
Heck yeah. All right, everybody. Thanks so much for tuning in. This, of course, will live on our YouTube page. You can also find snippets of this and more over on our Instagram, TikTok, and everywhere Forks Over Knives is on the interwebs. Thanks so much for tuning in, and we'll see you next time.
Bye.